Hello, my name is
Hello, Jane.
Giavonne Rondo, and I am with Healthy Mind, Body, and Spirit. And this is a show that is focused on improving the health and wellness for the whole community, but particularly focused on helping with the African American community in West Louisville. And we have certain medical conditions specifically for our community that we really like to focus on, including high blood pressure, asthma, diabetes. And so today we have a wonderful specialist that's going to talk to us about diabetes. She is known as or I call her the Dr. Diabetes Diva, and that is Dr. Lara Fakunle. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Fakunle.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Great. How is this season?
Oh boy, it is
An
really interesting, really
since
interesting
season,
kind of season
unusual
for our life.
times. Yes, yes.
It is. And I
I
know
hope
that
you're
you
staying safe, you and your family. Yes,
We
yes.
are. We are staying safe. We're wearing our masks, even though you don't see me wearing one right now, but
Yes,
we're wearing our
yes,
masks and we're washing our hands very frequently and
yes.
just trying to be socially distant from, people outside of our household. So yeah,
Absolutely.
we're
Yes.
trying to follow all of the guidelines and
Right.
trying to
Yes.
be safe as possible. And when we're actually working using our personal protective equipment that we
Equipment.
do need.
Yes.
So yeah. So how about you? How are you
Yes,
doing?
we are doing the same.
Yeah.
Um, those still going to work, of course, but wearing the masks, trying as much as possible to maintain the physical and social distancing, washing hands regularly, and avoiding unnecessary social gathering.
Yes.
Some are necessary, some have to be done, but and even with the necessary ones, maintaining the distance as much as possible. Yes.
Yes, that is very important, very important. But yeah, you focus on diabetes. And so
Absolutely.
I would like to know, our audience is, all of us really are so concerned with, of course, the COVID-19, but how has diabetes or how has COVID-19 affected your practice? Because you see a lot of people who have a condition that seems like that makes them more um, predisposed to
Yes.
problems with COVID-19. Tell me about that.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Diabetes is a chronic health condition. And like I always tell my patients, we want to prevent you from getting sick. You have a chronic health condition, you are not sick. So we've made it clear to them is because they do have that chronic health condition, we want to avoid being infected at all, and if
Right.
but for some reason, as we have seen, if they do get infected, we want them to be very safe and know the measures to take. And the same rules apply, and maybe more so for patients with chronic health conditions or situations where they are immunosuppressed, we call it, meaning your body cannot fight its own infection like the average person. And that will include someone with diabetes, someone with respiratory problems, heart problems, our patients that have received transplants, kidney
Right.
transplant, pancreatic transplants, and they are on medications that help them prevent rejection, but at the same time, sort of makes them more predisposed to infections and other health conditions. So it's been very important to keep them safe. And of course, we've seen some patients with diabetes, and sometimes data with some of them tend to do more poorly, but at the same time, some have recovered. But apart from the health condition itself, these times when people are locked in or they've had to stay indoors more than usual, they've not been able to go to or not been able to go to the grocery shop as often as
Right.
they would want to. As you can imagine, it has affected their lifestyle, how they eat, how they exercise. And I'm trying to adjust their life to accommodate the new norm, to be able to stay
Yeah.
healthy. So we've encouraged them with regards to lifestyle changes, with regards to feeding. I'll start first with the exercise. We had for many months quite a bit of restrictions with regards to the gymnasiums and people going out to structured exercise programs. which for some people, it doesn't really matter. They do their own exercise in their homes or they exercise in their neighborhood. But for a lot of others, they like that structured environment.
Yes,
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 yes. So, and if you
yes.
remember, and I still believe the gyms were locked down for a while. Now I believe that maybe we have some of them opening, but not to full
Yeah,
capacity. Yes.
right. I think a
So
lot of those locations are at like 50% capacity.
50%
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So for some of our patients who enjoyed going to to those local gyms and paying for them, that was very difficult. You know, iron sharpeneth iron, like the Bible says. So people love to go there, exercise, see others
Right,
exercise.
right.
Some of the
And
local,
it
yes,
gives them a sense of accountability, you
accountable,
know?
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
And some of the gyms are also open 24/7.
yeah, yeah.
And yes, so they could go in at any time of the day, before work, after work. Those that work shifts works, you know, coming back from work late at night, they went there early in the morning. So when that changed, as you can imagine, it was difficult for some. And we did go through some of those cold months, so people couldn't go outside to exercise. Then there others would also use the malls to as their
Yep,
exercising
yep,
ground.
yeah.
In some cases, some of the churches that have the space. So all this changed, as you can imagine, and a lot of the patients couldn't do that. But I still encourage patients that, you know, you may not be able to go to the gym, you may not be able to go to the mall or to church to exercise, but we still have uh, just your neighborhood. You could walk in your
Absolutely,
neighborhood. You
absolutely.
can walk in your neighborhood and at the same time keep that physical distance
That
from your
physical
neighbors.
distance.
Yes, and
Yes,
you could
yes.
run your vacuum cleaners. You could, you know, sweep your the leaves in your yard.
Yeah,
Those things help you. Play basketball with your grandchildren or with your children.
right.
Um, Things like that. Things that you could still do and be safe with your own family members. So I really did encourage, and I'm still encouraging my patients to begin to improvise with regards to exercise. So
That
they
is
could still
awesome.
stay active. Yes, yes, yes.
Yes. And so I think what you're sounding like, or what you're talking about, is just basically still getting that physical activity, but doing it in a way that's a little bit different and creative, that where they're not having to go out and actually, drive their car. They're not having to actually be close to anyone else, and they're not being exposed to those potential, germs or whatnot, or viruses that can be out when you're
Yes,
around lots of other people. So,
yes,
that's one of the things that I think of during this time, is that we're just having to be more creative, and utilizing what we actually have in our own home. So thank you so
exactly,
much for that.
exactly,
Yes,
exactly.
yes,
That's important. And even with the feeding, even though, you know, we encourage patients to limit as much as possible to be very intentional with grocery shopping,
yes,
meaning
yes.
like you don't want to go too often. That's what we meant during those times, to avoid unnecessary exposure. But at the same time, shopping creatively. Now, the tempting part was and still is, because of reduction in activities and because people were not going out to their usual activities, that the tendency to snack excessively
Yes.
has been there. So, like some of my patients have told me, the refrigerator was just there. You know, every time you pass by the refrigerator, and there's that
Mhm.
temptation to just eat. Yeah.
That sounds like it's a form of exercise for some people, going back and forth to the
Yes, to the
refrigerator.
gym,
So that's not going
to
to
the
be as optimal.
refrigerator.
No.
Yes, yes. And I tell them, just because you have it in the refrigerator doesn't mean you've got to consume it.
Right,
Then, you
right.
know, a lot of younger parents, or even not necessarily young parents, period, some adult kids were working from home, and
Mhm.
some college students were back at home, you know, studying from home and doing virtual classes. So of course there was need for more food in the house,
Right.
foods that they would ordinarily not buy and store in their pantry. They kept it because the family size grew because of the lockdown.
Yes.
And of course, when food is there, human beings eat for multiple reasons: as a hobby, for pleasure, for leisure, and of course, the last thing a lot of times is to nourish our body. So So that the tendency to eat got there, and we saw some weight gain. We saw some decline in glycemic control. We saw some people, cholesterol levels went up. People didn't take their
Wow.
medications as well. Mm-hmm.
In this time, that's one of the reasons why we're actually on this particular type of
Yes.
venue. We have to be socially distant. So you're in your home, I'm in my home. And I just wonder, I think people are wondering, what does an endocrinologist who's telling us to follow a good dietary regimen and then also exercise on a regular basis, what do you do? What kinds of things are in your refrigerator, and what kinds of ways do you get your physical activity? Just being a little nosy.
Yes, great. You have to remember that sometimes the easiest things I tell people to do is avoid, let's start from the simplest things that people do every day and they don't pay close attention to. And that's consumption of sugar drinks.
Sugary,
sweet drinks,
okay.
sugary drinks. And it's not unusual for individuals to consume some form of sugary drinks with every meal.
Okay. And so when you say sugary drinks, can you be more specific?
So even with the hot beverage in the morning or cold coffee in the morning, some start with very sweet, heavy sugar caffeinated beverages or regular Mountain Dew. Well, not that I have anything against Mountain Dew, but as a form of their caffeine. So you could start by reducing or almost eliminating the sugary drinks, reducing that significantly. Particularly if you do not have diabetes, it's good to start that habit and limit the caloric intake from those sugary drinks, sweet teas. Okay,
sweet tea.
I know.
We love our sweet tea.
Try to hydrate with water. Okay, and then that's one of the easiest thing and the simplest thing for people to. It's very easy to just go through a drive-through fast food store and just get a $1 sweet tea loaded with sugar or a large.
You're putting that pretty high there. I'm seeing a pretty large amount.
Just loaded. Young people doing that multiple times in a week. That's a lot of large amount. Yes, just large, extra large. You try and get the most for your money. That's a lot of calories. That's a lot of sugar. Now, mark you, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying sugar causes diabetes. That's not what I'm saying. And we know better than that. The developments of type 2 diabetes or type 1 diabetes are multiple factors. But you may not be able to control your genes. You may not be able to alter your genetic predisposition. We did not choose the families we were born into. We did not choose the genes as of now that we do carry. But what you can make changes in is what you consume. Okay? So particularly what you drink. Then we'll come back to food at some point during this program. But the other thing is increasing daily activity. So what do? Regularly, I try to exercise about 5 times a week. Start off little. If you want to start off with 10 minutes a day, 10 minutes, gradually increase it to 15 minutes. Walking on your treadmill, on your elliptical. I like to do it at home. I've been blessed to be able to do it at home, partly because go out early in the morning, come in late in the evening. So I'm better off in my own environment while I'm watching the news or reading something or listening to a podcast or whatever. Do my 20, 30 minutes exercise. And then while I have something in the oven or I have something in the crock pot. So those are practical ways. Now, those that love to go to the gym, that's also a good way. On your way, pack your workout clothes, bring it on your way home. Just swing by your favorite place that you paid money to go to.
Right. That's what you
do that. Yes. If you have children going for activities, while your children are different activities, you go and you go walk. Most of the schools you can walk in their track field. You can walk in the mall while you're waiting for your son or daughter at basketball practice or track practice or volleyball practice, different things like that. So physical activity. Yeah.
So basically what you're saying is just find things that you would, in your daily routine that you're going to, already do and just try to incorporate some type of physical activity.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Because I hear many times, I come in late, I leave late, I work a lot, I can't do that. but you just have to incorporate it into your day-to-day activity.
Day to
But
day.
if you make choices, intentional choices with regards to what we eat, what we put in, and I always start with the simplest things that we can make correction. I want to make it very simple.
Mm-hmm.
Before we go to you'll find out with food that people have different taste buds. We come from different ethnic backgrounds, so we grow up on different types of meals. There are different things we love to eat. So the principles of how we make our choices with regards to the food will come into play. But first, we don't have to do those sugary drinks.
Right.
Okay. Yes.
So that would be the number one thing that you would take off, the sugar.
They're easy to take off. I would say
thing.
Easy to take off. Okay. Yeah, that you don't have to be sustained on. You don't need it to survive.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't need a extra large Coca-Cola, or extra large Mountain Dew, or extra large sweet tea.
I like the way you put the size all the way.
It's really
you make it really big.
Yes, and I have people who would do 3 extra larges in a day while they're driving to work, during lunch, and they get another one on the way home.
Yes, yes.
And that's a lot of sugar in that cup of extra large. Yeah.
That is what the things that you're talking about are so practical.
Very practical,
it's so practical because sometimes diabetes seems like it's just so confusing and there's just so many
very overwhelming
insulin and medicines. But what you're talking about is very practical things that even people who don't have diabetes, can
and
utilize.
That's what we want to do. Yes, we want to catch you. If you are pre-diabetic, before you progress to diabetes. Yes.
Before the diabetes.
Diabetes. Yes.
Wow.
And that's very important. And those are things people overlook. Even those that have been diagnosed with diabetes still consume these sugary drinks, and they have extreme fluctuations in their blood sugars going into 300 ranges just because of that drink.
Wow.
Yes.
That is amazing.
It's amazing. So I've made it part of my routine question to ask. Do you still consume those drinks? And you'll be amazed how many times, despite a previous diagnosis of diabetes, where the answer is in the affirmative, that yes, I drink about 1 or 2 every day.
Wow.
Of soft drinks.
Wow.
Yes.
And I think sometimes people kind of underestimate that. So
they do because they
drink even more.
They think, oh, well, it's just a 12 ounce, I just sip. Then I've heard cases of people say, I just dilute it down. Well, no. Do you dilute down poison? No. But your body cannot handle that. Yes. Now, for those that are not diabetic, to be practical, could you have instances once in a while when you've been at an outing and you do not have diabetes, but you've had to have half a cup of regular soft drink? I'm not saying if you do not have diabetes that it's a complete no, but we're saying it shouldn't be part of your daily dietary habit.
Yeah. And so doing those types of things can actually lead you to it's not going to cause it, but it does lead you to a little bit more of an increased prevalence of the diabetes, potentially, if you have other factors that
absolutely contribute. So doing those things, consuming those unnecessary calories lead to weight gain, which leads to obesity. So if you have the predisposition genetically with reduction in physical activity compounded by other things, that's when you now get into the stage which is pre-diabetes, which if you do not do anything, you go into diabetes. So it's not so much that because you drank sugary drinks, you get diabetes. No, there are multiple factors, like you said. Yes, there are multiple factors.
So many factors. Thank you so much. This has been, we've just touched the very tip of the iceberg.
Just the tip, yes, absolutely.
But you have given us such good, wonderful information that we need in our community to help us. Diabetes has been obviously a big issue in the African American community for so many years.
A lot of the people on dialysis, strokes, heart, neuropathy, amputation, related to diabetes. Poorly controlled diabetes for many years. That was ignored. Yes.
And so really trying to get to the bottom of that would help us with even this COVID-19 issue that's going on now.
Yes.
So I thank you so much, Dr. Fakunle, but I like to call you the Dr. Diabetes Diva because
I love that title.
A wonderful, wonderful
thank you.
plethora of information that you've given us this evening. I thank you
Yes.
so much for joining us. And
Yes.
again, we want to, with this program, make our community better.
Better.
And we
Yes.
want a healthy mind, body, and also spirit.
Spirit.
So we
Yes.
hope that
Yes.
you take this information with you to achieve those goals and take care and also take Christ.